you are the career leader in passing yards for Oklahoma University, correct?
Right. Yes.
Before I ask the next question, I mean, what comes to mind even when you hear that statement?
I mean, we were talking earlier. It seems like another lifetime ago. Now it's like getting to the point where it's like, that was a really long time ago. Over what, 2000? It's 2024. That's 12 years ago. 16 years ago when I first got on the campus.
Wow.
Quick math in our head. We're good at math. Come on.
2024, 2008. So that is got to be 14 years.
yeah, something like that. Anyways, yeah, that way. It honestly, it just feels like a different lifetime ago, a whole different person.
And so it's crazy. Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts. Obviously, Jalen Hurts was only there for a year, but like there's Sam Bradford, like this crazy talented people who have come through that school. But Landry Jones sits on top of the list for career passing yards. And so the reason I say that is I want to ask you a question. You go from being the man, high school, to not being the man, literally polar opposite, to then being the best, one of the best ever, arguably one of the best ever to ever wear the what is it, crimson and white, they say?
Crimson and cream.
I'm an Aggie. Dude, I'm an Aggie.
Bro, we might have to just stop the podcast now.
We can talk more about that later because I got some beef with
We'll pray for you.
Hey. But you go, it's like, I'm the man, I'm not the man, to being one of the best ever. How did your relationship with Jesus then factor into your performance on the field?
Man, you're asking some great questions, Cole. Golly. During that time, again, like I keep saying, I was drinking from a fire hose, but so I gave my life to Jesus, and I grew up like very Baptist. So like, speaking in tongues was like demonic. You know what I mean? But there's also some like amazing stuff that I grew up with, and all I really knew about like Christianity and have a relationship with God was read my Bible. And so I gave my life to the Lord, and it was like an overnight switch of where he was like, got rid of all my anxiety. I didn't struggle with suicidal thoughts. I wasn't depressed anymore. And I was like, oh man, that was easy. That kind of worked. And then I just dove into his word and just started reading his word. I mean, there wasn't a day where I missed, And so it was just like, I remember reading Romans and hearing that like, I am made righteous through faith, not by like works. And it felt like my brain exploded and I was bleeding from the ears. You know what I mean?
Come on, dude.
Like, what is happening?
Romans will do that to you.
Yeah. And I read that and I was like, all right, God, hold on. Let me get this straight. It's not like a sliding scale anymore of where it's like I read and then I try to do good things. It's like I just believe. And from that belief, like that's the conduit of you starting to work the good things out in my life. And I was like, holy smokes. So then it goes into, we started going to this church called Antioch Norman. Have you heard of Antioch churches?
Antioch churches, yes.
Antioch churches, great place. And we walk in on our first Sunday, me and Whitney, and I was like, oh my goodness, the guy that met me in that room is here in this building. And I was like, shoot, we're going to go here. And it was the first time they actually did a really good job of giving me language for what I was experiencing. They're like, hey, you experienced the baptism of the Holy Spirit. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Baptism of the Holy Spirit.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. What are you talking about here?
I never heard of that before.
Yeah, I never heard of that before. And then they gave me language to all of like, oh, snap. Yeah, absolutely. He did set me free. And they're like, yeah, that's like his presence. And I'm like, presence? We mean by presence, meaning that like God is actually real and wants to like walk with you on this earth, and not just you say this prayer and you go to paradise. They're like, no. He's like wants to like be in you, be with you. And so all of that is happening while I'm playing. And so I'm like juggling this, like, what is going on? And then 2009 rolls around. Sam gets hurt. I'm thrown into like the fire of being a starter, not prepared at all. But it was best thing that ever happened to me was that I failed on many public stages. But behind the scenes, the Lord was like using that to like disciple me.
Solidify you in faith, solidify you in
Yeah.
y'all's relationship.
Yeah, for sure. So it's like we played Nebraska 2009, my redshirt freshman year. I threw 5 dingers that game, and
5 interceptions.
yeah, 5 interceptions, and we only lost by 3. So it was just like, dang, Lance, you kind of screwed that one up. That one's on you. But after that game, I went to church the next Sunday, and the Lord used that experience to being like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. He's like, that literally is the worst thing that can happen to you. Because in my world, it was like I was playing college football, and that was like we were supposed to win games, win national championships. So losing a game in that way, that was like kind of the worst thing that would happen to you. And he's like, do you still love me? Yeah, I still love you too. Okay. And so it like got rid of this thing of like, sometimes I feel like in Christianity, I hear it a lot from like students and young adults of just being like, well, I want to make sure that I get it right. I want to make sure that like this fear of like failure. And I'm like, the best things in my life that may have ever happened to me was failing on a public stage in front of everybody. Because then it forced me to go face to face with myself and being like, hey, you're not as good as you think you are. Go back, prepare, and do better next time. And there'll always be like a next time. So I think the Lord really used that like whole college football experience. It was just a discipling tool.
But imagine, this was came to mind, imagine if you would have threw 5 interceptions and lost and not having the Lord at that time. Like, imagine you didn't feel like the man, and then you don't get saved, you don't encounter the Lord, and then you go and thrust into that deal. It could have went a whole different direction.
No, there's no question. I should have bought stock in Jack Daniels at that time.
Dude.
If that happened. Yeah, dude.
You was
Lord,
on that bottle.
Yeah, I would have been drowning my sorrow.
Oh my gosh, dude.